Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Today, Friday, July 11th, we got our very first patch for Broken Arrow that actually does some pretty cool things. Let's check it out. Let's go over it. So now we have the ability to change the map size in skirmish and custom lobbies. So it automatically is going to detect that, I think, based on the lobby size that you have. But the fact that you can override those changes to match your preference, I think is awesome. Personally, I'm hoping Oil Rush gets a a bigger option for the map, because I already feel like that's on the small map option, but I guess we'll see. I think this is going to be great for tournaments or games where you want to do something a little smaller, like 3v3s, where like you have a very large map, like a meandering, that you want it to be smaller to accommodate the kind of pool of players, but currently you couldn't do that. So super excited to see that for the custom lobby content. And then we also have new PvE scenarios for 1 to 3 players on Kaliningrad and Ruda. I've actually seen a lot of guys in the Discord really enjoying all the scenarios in the game. There's like a zombie mode, and now there's these tower defense modes. So I'm really happy to see that. Now we have balance changes. Guys, this is huge. Now I know a lot of people really love and hate the infantry combat in the game, and I think this is definitely a step in the right direction, right? So when we're talking about infantry, we have to remember that they are a lot cheaper than tanks, right? So they have to be used in, kind of a more cost-effective way. But now that they've reduced the sprints, let's talk about this. So we're closely monitoring the evolution of the best performing strategies and their counters, which are basically, I think, saying, yeah, we know tank blobs are a thing. And the situation is still evolving, so we don't want to add lots of major changes, which I appreciate. We've decided to start with this change first. Reduced sprint cooldown from 60 to 30 seconds. So they reduced the sprint cooldown by half for every infantry and recon infantry unit. This modification will deeply impact the balance by giving infantry the ability to use one sprint charge to attack a position and sprint away when artillery starts raining. It also allows it to disengage more easily when overwhelmed by vehicles. So they really just addressed that strategy in their counter that yes, you're moving infantry into a town, and then invariably using infantry is slow. So when they get into the town, they're setting up, they're attacking, those bombs start raining very quickly. And now you can just use the sprint function more often. I think, again, this is a huge step in the right direction, just allowing infantry to have more of a versatility in their kit. But I do want to mention one thing, though. Now, some infantry have a variety of weapons that they can shoot while they're moving, like Iglas can be fired on the move, rocket launchers can be fired on the move, javelins can't, ATGMs can't, that have like a setup time, but there are plenty of infantry weapons that can be used while on the move. But the exception to that is if you sprint, those weapons will now not be fired. When an infantry unit is sprinting, they're usually not using most of their guns. So just keep that in mind. You can't sprint and attack, but you can sprint to relocate, and I think this is really cool. So stability and network, right? We have fixed most cases of memory leaks, which were followed with crashed desktop kind of situations. That's amazing. I know that crashing a desktop was sporadically common. And reconnect functionality received multiple important fixes, both on server and client side. We will continue our work on this subject in the future. So I think that's probably the biggest part of it, is having a reconnect feature in the game was very nice, because if you did have some weird crash, you could reconnect, but then there were plenty of times where people would reload the game and their reconnect option wasn't there. And we had some pretty weird like fixes in our Discord where we were basically saying like, oh, it's okay guys, just restart the client 13 and a half times while doing a dance upside down. It's like, yeah, no, I think hopefully this is going to address that. So we've applied tweaks and improvements to our matchmaker in order to provide better game experience for everyone. So obviously we have no idea what this means, but what I'm hoping it's going to do is that you're not going to get all of a sudden randomly pitted in high ELO lobbies. I'm guessing maybe they had, more focused on speed, so that's just when you're searching for a match, it's just trying to match you as quickly as possible. So I'm guessing and I'm hoping this is going to help in those cases where, you're in a maybe mixed ELO kind of lobby, like you're doing a pre-made. I get this all the time when I'm in my Discord. I'm like 1200, and then you'll have guys that want to play with me that are 7, 8, 900, and then but we get pitted against like a 1400 ELO lobby, and we're like, well, I guess this will be a learning game on what to do, what not to do. But anyway, if they can average the ELOs out a little better and put these games together, I think that'd be really nice. Anti-cheat improvements, right? So this is a huge topic right now in the community. Everyone is going all over the place about it, and the Broken Arrow team did put out a kind of blog yesterday talking about all these different aspects of their cheating focus and what they're looking at to do to try and fix it, and kind of how it's affecting the community. But let's see what they're saying here. So this update improves the anti-cheat system, which will now be more efficient in detection. The team has also been expanded with new members to thoroughly review all cheating reports, ensuring fairness in the ban process. With this added expertise, we're confident the staff will be even more efficient in detecting and addressing cheaters. So they're adding more staff, which means this whole thing is going to take time to actually work itself out. But their kind of undisclosed update to the anti-cheat system, we'll see what it does. Honestly, in the like 120 games that I've played, something like that, I've probably only, like, I'm not even joking, I've probably encountered 3 games with cheaters. I know some people make it sound like every other game they play has a cheater in it. Personally, not my experience. Like I said, I've probably had 3 or 4 games with cheaters in them. So it still sucks. It's still a problem, but I do wonder if it's something that is just painful when you're experiencing it. But we'll see. Again, step in the right direction here. So plans for the future. So I'm guessing this means they haven't done any of these changes, but it's things they want to do. So first of all, let us reassure you that we plan to further improve our game by fixing known issues and solving problems that were highlighted by our community, as well as bringing new content and making the overall game experience better for everyone. Cool. So currently we want to highlight these fixes, features, and improvements, but note that this list is not exhaustive. Fixes and improvements for co-op scenarios and sync, surrender feature for multiplayer games, and progressive penalties for leavers, new UI screen for scenarios, quality of life improvements for single player experience. Now, does that mean they've done that? Or again, this is just what they want to do in the future? That wasn't super clear here. So anyway, let's look at the full list of changes, see if we can catch anything that we may have missed. So added option to change the map size in skirmish and custom lobbies. We talked about that. The size is changed automatically based on the number of players, but it can be manually overridden. Awesome change. Added a game servers in Thailand, Indonesia, and Malaysia. Cool. So basically they've just added extra amount of servers for that region. Added portraits for Baltic states vehicles. Okay. Added swimming animation. Yes. I think there's really only 2 infantry units in the game that can swim. One is the PDSS and one is the pilot. If you didn't know that, but I did actually, for like the first time ever, right? I'm like so excited. I'm playing Russia. I have PDSS. I'm in Kaliningrad, right on that island way on the edge of the map. And I thought, oh, this will be so rad. I'm gonna deploy 3 PDSS and have them like tactically insert by swimming to the other side of the map, through the like that channel. And they're just running. They're just running around like, hey guys, I'm running through the water like a normal dude. And I'm like, okay, little jank. So guess they added that animation finally. So added PvE 1 through 3 Kaliningrad and Ruda. So I personally haven't engaged with this, but again, I know people love it, so it's cool to see them adding that in. So general fixes and improvements. Multiple crash of desktops fixed. Awesome. Fixed memory leak issue on our server infrastructure. So if you've ever been in a game or all of a sudden like the game is just lagging out and you like, the map is there, you're still in the game, but your clicking doesn't do anything, your units aren't moving. I have seen that before. Glad to see that they did it. Fixed multiple cases of reconnected battle button not appearing. Awesome. Glad they fixed that. Fixed multiple cases of player log file consuming excess amount of space. Cool. Fix an issue with campaign menu being stuck. Great. Fix an issue in multiple when players have empty map without playable zones. Okay, so this is that thing when you load into a game, but the map is just completely blank. Like basically there's a bug when you're loading in and you can't deploy units, you can't do anything. So great fix there. Fix an issue when players may have 99 out of 99 units in a deck after loading into the game. That's a little busted. Fix an issue when player may get a DC from game server with corresponding error message. Okay. Fixed max FPS cap from 300 to 144. Cool. Fixed an issue with drop-down options being unclickable in some cases. Good to know. Fixed an issue in the reporting system which prevented showing the correct player's profile upon clicking. UI issue only. All right. Address matchmaking system in order to minimize games with big differences in ELO rating between teams. So, okay, so this is kind of what I was talking about. So they did actually attempt to make a change. Again, guys, with all these fixes, it's not definitive. We can't guarantee what it is. But they did make an adjustment to the matchmaking system so there are less widespread ELO changes. And I think this is just because probably the majority of the community, if you look at it like a bell curve, a majority of the community is probably in the 800 to 1,000 ELO range. So when you have guys in the 12 to 14 to 1,500 ELO and they're trying to queue in for a game, they're probably having to sit and wait for a long time. And as far as I know, most matchmakers, the longer you're in a queue, the wider it spreads the search to just get you in a game. Again, most of them, I believe, just from my experience, have kind of always been coded that way. But I'm guessing now they're maybe putting a hard boundary. So low ELO players and high ELO players at a certain point just will never get matched, which I think is great. So added matchmaking mechanism to be more accurate while looking for a more suitable ping-wise game server. So it's also going to try to put a better ping together. I love that. Fix an issue with transferred units movement interpolation. Thumbs up. Fix an issue where some input devices may interfere with option selection on UI. Cool. Fix an issue with displaying incorrect date, time format, and various in-game messages. Fixed flares achievement. Actually, I think there's like a lot of achievements that aren't counting. Like I look at my profile and there's like a whole bunch of different frames that aren't tracking anything. And yes, I know there are some achievements that are broken. So glad they're trying to get to that. Fixed an issue when player wasn't able to override anti-overkill as AA by clicking right mouse button on a target. Okay, so anti-overkill is a pretty big thing. What you guys may or may not have known is that, let's say you have like 5 SAM sites in the back and one plane comes like flying in over your SAM sites. Well, the SAM sites don't all just shoot 10 rockets at that plane. They will actually shoot multiple rockets. So like, let's say if one SAM site locks onto a plane and it can shoot 2 missiles per target, it's going to lock onto that and shoot 2 missiles per target, but the rest of the SAM sites won't shoot at it, right? So I'm sure you've noticed that, but the cool thing that you were supposed to be able to do is that if you selected your SAM and you right-clicked on that plane, it would force it to attack it regardless of how many other SAM sites were attacking it, right? So, but I'm guessing what they're saying is here that it wouldn't do it even if you told it to, which that could be super frustrating. So now you can. Now when you see an aircraft, you can have your SAM sites, even if you have 3 or 4 of them out, you can select them all right click on that plane, and that way hopefully you'll get the damage you're looking for. So, okay. Fix an issue when Steam Workshop scenarios were incorrectly initialized in some cases. Fixed CIS region server pop-up screen. Cool. Fixed incorrect ready up UI sound. Interesting. Rebinded default camera rotation button from left control to middle mouse button. Thank God. How awkward was that when you wanted to go like make a control group, right? So I use like the corner of my hand and I'll like put the button on control to like want to go select a control group, and all of a sudden I'm also moving my mouse because I'm using my mouse to pick units or something, and then all of a sudden your screen goes like cattywampus all over the place. You're just like, oh, it was just annoying. So I'm glad they finally fixed that. So let's see. Fixed mission unlock condition hints on campaign screen being misleading. Fixed M712 Copperhead VFX looking like a cluster round. I believe, yeah, that's just the explosion animation for one of the paladins, I think, gets the Copperhead. So, yeah, they just made it look the right way. Adjusted 127 mil gun VFX, the Arleigh Burke. I believe the Arleigh Burke is a destroyer, which you don't ever see in multiplayer. It's a ship that you see in the campaign. So adjusted the howitzers and mortars impact VFX lifetime. So that's just, I guess, how long that VFX stays on the in the game. I guess they just adjusted that, fixed it. Fixed MC130H having no model under some circumstances. That would be pretty weird. So I can't imagine what that would be. I mean, you call it in and it just doesn't have a model. So fixed Tochka U. Fixed the so I guess it used to have a missile texture that was pink. So no more pink missiles. Adjusted parachute animations, okay. Fixed cat toe marines pose. Oh, sorry, no, I was actually looking. There was another one I had read before. Okay, fixed their pose with the M240. Who cares? Fixed an issue with S300, 350, 350 PM. Deployment animation being stuck, resulting in missiles being fired directly into the ground. Now, I don't know if you guys have ever seen this before. I have, where I'm like looking at my S350 and I see a missile like if the unit is like here and a plane's coming in, right? And it would like shoot the missile down into the ground and then go up. I didn't know why it ever did that, but apparently I'm guessing the launcher wasn't deploying correctly. So glad they fixed that. Bay of Winds zone capture time adjusted from 30 to 15 seconds. That's very cool. I didn't even know that it could be different than 15. But yes, the uncapture time and recapture time of a flag is normally 15 and 15, totaling 30. So little bug there. Various fixes for icons of weapons and localization fixes, which is usually language if I remember correctly. So campaign fixes and improvements. So excuse me, seems like there's a bunch of the missions were bugged out. Looks like they fixed that. I'm not going to go over every single one, but let's get to the balance section. So this is the juicy part. Reduce sprint cooldown from 60 to 30 seconds for every infantry unit. We kind of covered that. Fixed mistake in base price of cat toe from 110 being greater than 100. So I'm guessing now the cat toe base price is 100. I think that's cool. Spetsnaz grew. So they actually buffed the Spetsnaz grew, right? So they added a second Verba launcher to balance the interest of this option with the two others. So basically now, if you're going just Verba, he's going to get 2 Verbas, and I think he has 6 ammo. So he'll actually have 2 launchers shooting 6 missiles in twice the time, or in half the time, right? So that's pretty cool. Engineering Sturmoviki, the price went to 70, right? So that kind of our first balance in point value. And I will say the Engineering, I think it's a 7-man squad, and them only costing 60 with the CQC loadout kit and 4 smoke grenades, definitely pretty critical there. So I'm glad they're taking this in fine steps. You know, they didn't make it at 80 point or something. I'm guessing they're kind of trying to balance it out with combat engineers. So we'll see how that is. I mean, honestly, that's barely anything. I mean, that's like, every 100 points of a unit is 6 points of tick rate income. So I'm guessing it going up by 10 points is like not even going to affect its tick rate value. But again, it's just trying to make little balance changes. I like that. Fixed optics value for Skrezit with ZU-23 plus Igla. So now the Skrezit, when you give it the full upgrade package, it's going to be able to detect helicopters further away. Fixed TOS-1 rear heat armor value being inferior to kinetic armor. So okay, the TOS-1 will have a little higher heat armor in the back. Fixed 822, the Barrack howitzer, having lower reload times than mixed loadout. Now this is actually a bigger idea than I think more people realize, because I remember when I have the mixed loadout where it can shoot like it's SPGAA and then it can also be a howitzer, that its reload time was like just forever. It was like 5 or 6 to reload, which did make it really, really annoying that if it's, you know, shooting an artillery barrage and then it wants to shoot at an AA target, its reload between shots was so long shooting at a helicopter that it very rarely actually could ever land and secure a kill. Because again, you think of like those AA cannon launchers being like a Derevitsia, and that thing's rapid firing those cannon shots, and they're much more effective. The Barrag would like shoot one, go like have a smoke break and a sandwich, and then come back and shoot another one, and you're like, yeah, that helicopter's long gone. Anyway, guys, that is the post from the patch. Again, they did come out with a kind of blog yesterday talking about the cheatings and bans. And really, all they did was just say, hey, guys, don't be racist. You know, everyone cheats and we're working on it. So, anyway, that was that. You can read it there if you want. But so excited to see you guys. I love that they're making changes and trying to make some adjustments here. I definitely would recommend kind of, you know, just being more involved in the community, right? Join us on Discord, find a community to play the game with. This game is so much better when you're playing with folks that are, you guys can all coordinate together, learn the game together. I think it's really great. And we have our tournaments on Tuesday night and Saturday, which really all this tournament currently is just a chill space to play together. We can have multiple rounds. We'll declare a winning team and a winner at the end, just based on score. So love you guys all so much, and see you on the battlefield.